SkiBig3 is a partnership between the Banff National Park ski resorts of Sunshine Village, Lake Louise, and Mount Norquay in the Canadian Rockies. I recently went to all three of them, and I'll share a bit to help you plan your own trip to maximize your fun on the snow when you visit this lovely part of the world. All three ski areas are partners with IKON Pass and grant 5 to 7 days of access, depending upon the type of pass you have. Sunshine Village and Lake Louise also partner with the Mountain Collective Pass, which gives 2 days at each and then a 50% discount on additional days. Although, even if you don't have either of these passes, compared to prices of similarly sized mountains in the US, lift tickets at these resorts are actually quite reasonable, and if you plan ahead and buy a multiple day pass, the prices get even better. Just to add a quick note on lift ticket prices. They sell lift tickets on the SkiBig3 website that can be used at all three mountains interchangeably, even during the same day. But an adult ticket costs 179 Canadian dollars, which is significantly more than the single mountain passes sold on each area's website. So if you're looking for truly the lowest ticket price, buy in advance online from the individual mountain, not through the SkiBig3 website. One other important reminder, every place I mentioned in this video is within Banff National Park, so you must buy a pass as you enter the park. And if you're driving from Calgary on Highway 1, there's drive-through kiosks just after the town of Canmore. Then put the pass on your vehicle's front window. Don't think you can get away with not buying a pass. Every day as I walked back to my car after my last run, I saw dozens of cars without park passes displayed, and literally every one of them had received a parking ticket. I also saw park staff ticketing cars in the town of Banff as well. So display your pass anytime you're in the park. So the first of the big three is Sunshine Village. Sunshine Village is about a 20 to 25 minute drive from Banff and around 2 hours from Calgary. I must say that it's aesthetically unique in that once you're on the mountain, there's massive vistas of the Canadian Rockies where you can literally see no other signs of civilization. Sunshine has a rather novel mountain setup. The access road goes up a narrow valley and ends at the parking lot and gondola base. Other than that, you cannot see any of the ski area from the parking lot. Considering the size of the resort, they also have a relatively small parking lot. So arrive early if you want a decent spot. We pulled up at 8:45 a.m. on a February Saturday, and by then the lot was about 75% full. When we departed at the end of the day, we saw cars parked for miles along the side of the access road. In the morning, this base is a major choke point since literally every guest needs to ride up from this spot to access the resort. We got into line at about 9:15 a.m. and waited about 20 minutes to board. But this was by far the longest lift line we had during our visit that day. There are a few services at this base area at the Creekside Lodge, but the bulk of the resort facilities require boarding the 6-passenger gondola to ride up to the village. Keep in mind, you'll probably not go back down to the base and Creekside Lodge until the end of your final run, so don't leave anything at the base or in your car that you might need during the day. If you're packing lunch or bringing extra gear, put it in a backpack and bring it with you up the gondola, then leave it at the Goat's Eye base or at the village. Once you're on the gondola, after a few minutes ride, it takes a sharp left, then passes through a midpoint station at the base of the Goat's Eye lift. This setup effectively limits the real vertical footage of the resort by a few hundred meters, since there's only one narrow and relatively mellow run down from the gondola midpoint to the base. Few people actually ski this run all the way to the base during the day, and it's generally a kind of last run back to the car type trail. So as I said, unlike most ski areas, the village for Sunshine is not at the base, but it's located at the top of the gondola. This is where the hotel, most food services, the beginner area, and multiple lifts originate from. Looking at the trail maps online a few days before I arrived left me thoroughly confused. But once I rode up the gondola, I quickly saw how it all fit together. Much of the riding from the village is at or above the tree line, so you'll get wide open vistas and huge runs with multiple lines down. On days with poorer weather, this seriously exposes these upper areas to clouds and frigid wind chills. But our visit was on a totally windless bluebird day. We followed the advice of some locals and spent the first half of the day doing lifts in and around the village. I particularly loved some of the runs off the upper part of the Great Divide Express lift. We saved the Goat's Eye for the second part of the day. The reason being that in the morning hours, most of Goat's Eye's runs are in the shade, but by afternoon, those get full sunshine. One little side note, Goat's Eye also has a beaver tails kiosk next to its lodge. These decadent and messy treats are the perfect mid-afternoon power-up. Sunshine Village has plenty of terrain for all ability levels, and almost every lift has at least some beginner terrain off of it. One thing I loved about Sunshine is that pretty much every run also had a pole placed directly in the center of the start of the run, with a green circle, blue square, or black diamond on it, so there would be no mistaking the difficulty level that you were about to undertake. I don't understand why every resort doesn't do this. Sunshine had a few terrain parks that were well tended. They looked to be a little on the small to medium side, and I didn't really notice any truly XL features. Not that I would have gone on them anyway. I really enjoyed Sunshine. The beautiful vistas and the wide variety of lifts and terrain were amazing. At the time of our visit, they hadn't received any new snow for about a week, so there was no fresh powder, and most of the advanced runs that weren't groomed had been seriously moguled up by then. Although I'm an expert snowboarder, deeply cut moguls on steep runs are not really something I find enjoyable, so this kept me off a few of the Black Diamond runs, out of most of the tracked out glades, and away from the freeride zones on Goat's Eye. But I imagine this place is unbelievable after they get a fresh dump of snow. The next of the big three is Lake Louise. This ski resort is a bit further away from Banff, taking about 40 minutes drive from the town and about 2.5 hours drive from Calgary. Unlike Sunshine Village, Lake Louise is very much a traditional resort setup, with a large parking lot, lifts, and a gondola, a beginner area, and snow tubing all located around a sprawling base lodge complex. But there is no on-site hotel. However, like Sunshine, the ski area is absolutely stunning. It's surrounded by the Canadian Rockies and has views to die for from literally everywhere in the resort. I found it pretty cool that you could also see the resort's frozen namesake, Lake Louise, and its iconic hotel from much of the front side of the resort. Also like Sunshine, a decent amount of this resort is above the tree line, with the wide open runs and multiple lines down. With this, the upper bowls can be subjected to brutal winds and cold during the early season. But again, hey, during our mid-February visit, it was on a perfect windless bluebird day, so no complaints here. Lake Louise is a few hundred acres larger than Sunshine Village and has terrain for all ability levels. Beginners will especially find the front side inviting. However, go to the backside or the large areas, and most of the beginner trails tend to end in fairly flat and long outruns. Experts will have a field day at Lake Louise, and about 70% of the runs here are rated as Black Diamond or higher. The ski area also has a variety of terrain parks, from tiny ones to those with truly XL features near the base. Way too big for me. So what's not to love about this place? The jaw-dropping panoramas, wide variety of terrain and landscape features, and runs for everyone. Same as Sunshine, when we visited, it had been a while since they'd received any new snow, so no powder, and the advanced runs that weren't groomed were heavily moguled up. So I didn't hit many of the Black Diamonds, glades, or freeride zones, but I can't wait to come back after they get a few feet of fresh snow. About the only complaints I had about Lake Louise is that they had a number of fixed grip, slow chairlifts in places that really needed higher speed lifts, like to get from the backside to the front side. And in a few places, the runs ended in prolonged cat track outruns that as a snowboarder, I had to unbuckle my back foot and do some long, tedious skating. So the last of the big three is Mount Norquay. Although I'd hesitate to call it big, Mount Norquay is only about a 10-minute drive from the town of Banff, and it's a local spot, not a special destination unto itself. You know, you go there to learn, get a few runs in after school or work, maybe do a bit of night skiing. It has a homey base lodge, but is really not a resort. Although it has a vertical rise of about 503 meters, it felt small. With 5 chairlifts, only one of which is high speed, okay, and one of these 5 lifts serves only ungroomed expert terrain, and one of them is just a short beginner lift. I will say though, it wasn't crowded, the staff were super friendly, and the food at the lodge was far cheaper than that of Sunshine or Lake Louise. So really the main problem with Norquay is that it just has 2 much larger world-class resorts just down the road. If it was alone in a region, I'd drive a few hours to ride there. So should you go? Well, I had an IKON Pass. I was staying nearby and I wanted to get in a few hours of low commitment runs. So it was good for that. But if you're not a beginner and you want to ride a full day, going to 190-acre Norquay when there are places with over 3,600 and 4,200 acres just a bit further up the road makes Norquay kind of a tough sell. So my conclusions. The Banff region is one of the most beautiful places on earth and has so much to offer. I must say, I'm a bit jealous of the people that live there. If you're visiting Banff and ski or snowboard at an intermediate or above level, I'd say skip Norquay and visit both Sunshine Village and Lake Louise. Each is really special and distinct in their own way. I adored them both and I can't wait to go back. However, if you're just starting out on skis or a snowboard, Norquay offers a low hassle and friendly place to learn with a lot less driving and lower cost. So I hope this helps enable you to plan your own trip to this truly gorgeous place. If you found this valuable, please consider liking and subscribing, and don't hesitate to post your questions or comments.